Hello, and welcome back to 20th Century Dude. Today is a very special episode. I delayed it by about a week or two, but finally it's here. And really, I guess it's just a storytelling session, something I wanted to get off my chest for a little bit now that I have successfully graduated from Penn State University as of May 4th, 2024, this year. And after 4 years being there, I figured, hey, might as well uh, tell you my story, I guess. So just feel free. I'm not going to put up very many graphics for this, so I guess feel free to just put this in the background while you listen because not much is going to be going on besides me yakking. So I suppose as where to begin, I mean even as a kid, I always had this interest in movies, more or less just watching them and whatnot. Of course, to be entertained by, but and then again, as I got older, I got more into like the making of them, like how stuff was put together. Like it wasn't a matter of like the original trilogy, for example. Like it wasn't a matter of just watching those movies anymore to be entertained. Uh, Now I was watching them because I wanted to know how stuff was made. So I was also watching behind the scenes featurettes and documentaries constantly because of that curiosity. But there was always this interest in movies. Uh, I know at one time I actually wanted to be, back when I watched the Olympics, I wanted to be like the swimmer Michael Phelps because he swam back then, or maybe he still does, but I don't know. I don't pay attention anymore. But I never ended up doing any form of like swim team or like a swim club or anything. But that was like age of 6, and I haven't really figured out life yet. But it was shortly after I realized that I wanted to be someone that wanted to make movies. And then I think there's the fact that, I live like 45 minutes from the Penn State main campus. Not to mention that, Dad's side of the family especially, we were always Penn State fans. He always had, college football on, especially if Penn State was on the TV. So there was that as well, like a previous connection. Of course, I've been State College numerous times around main campus, so I was already somewhat familiar with it. What made the final decision probably was in the summer of 2019, the Belisario College Communications had a film camp for people, juniors and seniors who would be heading into college or thinking of maybe attending Penn State, that specific college. It was like a film camp, so after about a week doing that, and getting a dose of what to expect, I guess, I feel like that also played into what campus I would go to, and shortly enough, I decided I would pick Penn State as the main option, especially after visiting several other campuses. I looked at other things like York and I think was it Kutztown before, including Temple. Of course, since I was basically told not to look for anything out of state because of the tuition, so yeah, whatever. I think yeah, and then the pandemic hit. Uh, Unfortunately, I think enough's been said about that. State of the world was pretty awful. A lot of uncertainty, unfortunately. At least in the meantime, I think it was by like I want to say May-ish. I think it was about May where I got accepted into Penn State University, but it wasn't the main campus at first. Since it was a state campus and there's a whole bunch of branches, they put me in what was called a 2+2 program. So basically, I'd had to spend my first 2 years at a branch campus before going to the main campus to finish. Of course, that's where all the main Belisario stuff is anyway. But I did hear that a lot of the some of the other branch campuses didn't really have any communications program. I think York might be one of them. I think. Uh, it says some of them literally had to do maybe like a 1+3 or something and go over the main campus their second year because there was no physical way to do what they need to do, I guess. But that's where I would start in Altoona. And unfortunately, because it was 2020 and it was the pandemic going on, fat chance really of doing anything normal or doing anything in person, it just was not going to happen. So when I was trying to pick out classes for the first fall semester, it was honestly really difficult. I feel like I've had to change the stupid thing at least 5 times, um, because no matter what I do, even if there was a in-person like gen ed class or something that uh, would have been open at the time, it that would then close as an in-person option and maybe wasn't available uh, for online. So I think by the fourth or fifth time, you basically had to arrange your schedule uh, with all these like Zoom classes. I guess it basically was uh, find the gen eds and stuff, find the intro courses for college communications if you could, which I didn't end up doing my first semester, but you basically had to go with a whole bunch of online options, and yeah, that's a pain, really. And honestly, I hope within the next 100 years that we shouldn't ever have to do all Zoom courses or stuff ever again. But if the 100-year cycle continues, I guess, who knows? There might be another pandemic in the 2120s, but hopefully not, and hopefully somewhere along the line we can actually break the schedule. Not this, break the trend. But when the semester finally began, uh, needless to say, it was kind of a mess. The first 10 seconds of the class was literally the professor falling out of his chair. You saw him as I would be sitting here right now, and literally a few seconds later, you just saw it collapse. If that wasn't a sign of things to come for the next year, I don't know what is. And then we had to spend the next 20 minutes trying to teach the old guy um, how to use Zoom. First year, or first semester especially, it was all Zooms. It was an entirely remote year. I was doing classes at home. Uh, you would have had the option to do it at Altoona, but it would have been pointless because, of course, there are no clubs going on. Uh, you can only leave your dorm sometimes, and if you had your door open or something, you still had to wear a mask or something. And I don't even know if they had a whole lot of the food options open, so it would have been pretty much useless going over there. And yeah, but at least I saved thousands of dollars by staying home. It's not really an option you really want, but it's what you had to do. And to say that I was also adjusting to this new environment, I would think is a lie. Or maybe it's just because I don't adjust well to doing classes online, I guess. I was uh, homeschooled for 2 years, I think, first and second grade, because I don't know, I probably wasn't ready for like public school and kindergarten yet. I got picked on a lot, so I think I just stayed home for a little bit of it. But I think after a while, I just kind of got bored with it. I didn't really like the format a whole lot, so yeah. And then to do another online year again probably didn't help. And I can just say from experience, I would not recommend ever taking a math course online, especially if you're not good at math to begin with. It's just not a thing I would ever recommend. because I was, failing as the semester kept going on. My grades kept getting worse and worse. I kind of did have to drop the class because I didn't really have a choice, which is something I had to retake in person the next year, my first actual year at Altoona, and thankfully I actually passed with a B this time instead of having to late drop it. But that was something I really wished I could have avoided. Even my first semester, I didn't have any of the introductory film courses that I wanted to take. So I took what was, I think, Com 100. It was Mass Media and Society. So it's basically about all the broader, I guess, context and history of all media, including like books and TV and magazines, newspapers, journalism, PR, film, video, and a little bit of video games, uh, sort of that thing. Uh, and the professor I had, Shaheen Muhammad, I really do miss that guy. He's probably one of my like favorite professors ever because he was just so funny, so funny, always in a good mood. That guy, he was just absolutely fantastic. So I made sure the semester before I went to University Park that I had uh, another class to take with him. And at least another highlight was a history course I took solely on the Battle of Gettysburg and Gettysburg Park. The professor's name was Jared Frederick, which you might have seen on a YouTube channel called Real History, where he's basically comparing fact and fiction within historical movies and television for the most part. So yeah, he's actually a professor from Penn State Altoona. I've had him for one or two courses. He's probably my favorite history professor at Penn State, and that's one of my new favorite YouTube channels, probably as of now. I discovered it actually a couple months ago, and I've been sifting through that. But anyway, at least there was that class to look forward to. That was also the semester I considered wanting to at least do like a pep band or something for school, and that never ended up working out, probably because of the pandemic. And then later on, yeah, and otherwise, I think it was just a horrible mess. To say that that was my worst semester ever would be an understatement because it was just absolutely horrible. I think it's just not good at all. Moving on from that, we finally had an introductory film course. It was called The Art of the Cinema. It was basically, in a nutshell, all these film terms and that you had to like memorize and then see how that like applies to watching select films. Of course, the choice of the professor, and I think you had to like write a paper on what was your favorite film of the class. When I picked Shawshank because, in my opinion, that was the best we did. I'm trying to remember what all we watched. There was a editing documentary called The Cutting Edge from like the early 2000s. It was all about editing. Argo, I think, was another one if you're familiar with that film from Ben Affleck. American Graffiti, that was another one of my favorite ones. But I didn't end up picking that. Shawshank, of course. Oh yeah, there was one with Kevin Spacey from the 90s called Sling with Sharks. Basically about the movie industry. I don't know if any of you remember that one. I guess upon watching that one for a second time, I feel like that film kind of really holds up now, especially for the modern day. So, yeah, there was that one. I think there was some other film we watched. I wasn't really fond of it. I don't remember what it was. Basically, the class in a nutshell. Of course, that varied professor by professor. Because I know apparently at University Park, for some, or maybe another branch campus, I know somebody said they ended up watching the Hangover movies or something in their class, and I found it interesting. Oh yeah, and another one we we watched was the first Scream movie, which reminds me that I need to get around to watching the other Screams. Because I guess there's like five more to catch up on, but I'll get around to it eventually. But anyway, but yeah, I think when we got to about the tail end of the semester, I was very pleased to hear that they are finally going to be opening up some like additional options for taking courses in the next year. Some of us could do like a hybrid. Um, we can finally have more in-person options, which I was thankful for because I could not do another year remote, or else I would probably have dropped out of college. Finally moved to the Altoona campus, fall of, I want to say 21, and the options were a bit better. The other introductory course I took was 242. That was basically actually getting into some basic production aspects with some average, pretty simple film equipment, I guess. I mean, they weren't going to give us fancy things to work on. That was actually a class you had to drive downtown for or take a bus, but that was when, at the end of the semester, I did the short film, The Interrogation. Because as you remember, my first film's art class and the at set, they were in the summer and in between, just basically goofing off with friends. The Interrogation is something, I guess, the first film I kind of did for Penn State. And that's what I did there. I'm trying to think. Yeah, and that was also when I finally got to finish off the math credits, finally got to finish off the language credits, and that one was in person. I mean, we still had to wear masks. You could barely tell what anybody was doing anyway, but at least there I had much nicer, much more helpful professors, which was a very nice change of pace. I also had a very nice roommate, probably the best roommate I had yet at Penn State. We had a really nice dorm too. They considered it a suite. I guess you can call it. So it was a pretty nice dorm situation, and I think there were people next door too. So we also shared a bathroom with like 2 to 3 people. So yeah, it wasn't too bad, and also got to finish off the semester with some friends. We went and saw Spider-Man No Way Home at the State College Theater. So I think that was at least a pretty nice way to end the semester. I mean, we sort of began it with Shang-Chi. That was half decent, I guess, but hey. At least we got to end it with No Way Home. And then, oh yeah, I forgot to mention my car. So I want to say it was about the end of October. I was heading home that weekend because, it's only an hour and 10-minute drive from home, so I think I might as well come home on the weekends. And apparently it rained the previous night. It wasn't really that wet on the road, which was odd. And I was going under limit, but that one turn, I somehow hydroplaned right into a guardrail. Somehow. And, I mean, sure, I didn't have any cold weather tires on, and yet somehow I just slipped anyway. While the damage could have been substantially worse, had there not been a guardrail, I actually could have tumbled over the hill and probably died. So I probably wouldn't have been here. So it definitely could have been worse. But yeah, that was over a month where I didn't have my car, and $2,500 that I am never gonna get back, unfortunately. So yeah, not a great situation. But be careful where you turn, I guess, because there were barely even puddles out, and somehow I just, Anyway, I guess moving into the next semester, I fulfilled all my I guess, introductory courses for film, I had got accepted into the film program at main campus, but it was a matter of actually waiting over the fall semester actually go over there since you had to fulfill your 2+2 program things. Um, so I got to have another class with Jared Frederick, which was pretty nice. It was the history of the 1960s, entire class just on the 1960s. Probably the best class I feel like I took with him. Uh, and I got to have another class with Shahid Muhammad again. Uh, Great guy, definitely miss him. And that one I think was, I forget what it's called. It was something with multimedia. But there was a whole bunch of stuff we did in that class. I think we did some basic coding, which is good because basic code is the only thing I can do. We also learned Maya for I think the last month or so, a class, and that's where I picked up on my own. That's the program I used to animate my Star Pilot short, as you remember. That's also where I learned the basics of After Effects, and was also the class where I learned how much I don't like Adobe After Effects. I don't exactly consider it the most user-friendly option out there, but yeah, that's where I learned Adobe After Effects, and then finally finished there, and we got to finish the semester with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which is not really something I'd recommend, but it seemed how, at least at that point, we had a trend for finishing semesters with Marvel movies. Um, and, oh yeah, met this girl in this math class. Finally had my first date with somebody, and of course, nothing really happened, but which is unfortunate because that's really somebody I really would have loved to have been with. But I think through her, I finally understood what kind of, I guess, woman I'd want to spend the rest of my life with. But that's just a small detail. And of course, over the summer, I made the Star Pilot, and I think that took about two and a half months to finally complete. And trust me, by the end of it, I was definitely ready to be done. And then finally, fall of 2022, finally getting into the meat of things, finally at main campus, finally joining some clubs, and at that point, masking was basically optional. We didn't have to do that anymore. A lot of the so-called restrictions were lowered or not even considered at all, which was super nice to finally head back into an environment that really should have been from the beginning. That was the semester I decided to commute from home because I figured, 45-minute drive, it won't be that big of a deal. Wasn't a great idea at the end, which is why I had to consider a dorm for the remainder of my stay at Penn State. But that's really where I got to get integrated with a lot of my film crew. I joined the Penn State Student Film Club that semester as well. I joined the film club. That's where I started to get connected with some of the other film students, and one of the two film classes I took that semester. I'm trying to think of what we took. The main one was we had a intro to the screenwriting course. I guess that was very loose. I think sometimes we even just took class off, like just because, honestly. So it was a very loose class, that one, and the main one we took was Intro to Narrative Production, sort of an intermediate course for us juniors, and that's where we made that's where I made my first short film at main campus with, of course, Colin and Corin and Ethan. You would have recognized Colin as the doctor in the little short kleptomaniac exercise, uh, as well as Corin, which, as you can tell, I've collaborated with quite often. Quite an interesting fella. And so that was semester. It was definitely, for the most part, better off. You can sort of tell things were slowly but surely getting better, which was kind of nice because, by comparison, I mean, that first year was definitely awful. That's also where I went to my first internship fair in Washington, D.C. And unfortunately, that was quite a traumatic experience because I was quite underprepared for that. I probably didn't get as much information for that as I probably should have. Nothing that really would have catered to me as far as the production aspects production aspects go. I guess because there wasn't really anything for like film students or anything with production. So as far as recent memory is concerned, yeah, definitely one of the worst days ever of my entire life. But at least no one have to worry about that again. It's the spring of 2023. That's where I took the, I guess, intro to experimental film class with Professor Marty. Probably my favorite film professor at the university. That's where I made the nature in spring sort of collage experimental film, as you've probably seen before on the channel. That was something that had to be put together in like literally the span of 2 weeks, because the way the other academics were going. Thankfully, this was a production course, so it's somewhat looser and didn't intrude as much on your time. So, but at least he was okay with it. I think he knew that I intended it to be sort of a collage. It was really just me going around to the state forest near there and going around on trails, as you can see, and yeah. So that was that. We had another production course where Professor Rod, who's probably my second favorite film professor over there, that was a class basically built on like all the like technological aspects and like stuff like lighting a set or particulars of camera work and things of that nature. So it's basically if you wanted to be like a boom man or like like a lighting specialist or cinematographer to do other things on set. So you're basically one of the it'd be basically teaching you how to work as part of a crew. Also, pretty fun class. And yeah, I ended up finishing again the semester with Guardians Volume 3, which is one of the better, newer Marvel films, I guess. But this was also, 2023 also became the year I really started to question whether or not Hollywood was really the direction I wanted to go. Because I think everybody knows it's really just a gigantic mess right now. It's not really a great time to be working in the film industry, especially if you're a new up-and-comer. So I was just literally watching all of this happen throughout 2023, and it was one of those things that's like, is this still something I want to do? Trying to think what else. Oh yeah, that April as well is where I found work at the WHVL cable station. Was not a Penn State featured opportunity because all the internships and part-time jobs I tried to apply for would not accept me. Anything literally in state would not accept me at all. Unfortunately, I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I didn't have enough on my resume. I don't know. I know the economy's not good with really just picking up anybody for jobs. But I was really grateful that, hey, here's finally something. And they're actually going to, offer me a job. It wasn't like a production aspect. It was more, broadcasting and doing things in master control, which was my job. Unfortunately, pardon my French, it did turn into a piece of shit after a couple months, and it's still a piece of crap even now. At least I got some sort of job, some kind of communications job that summer, even if it turned out to be absolutely horrible, which is unfortunate, but here we are. Um, so, other than that, I did kind of spend the entire summer, contemplating on what it is that I should go do, because I really, really did not know. And of course, I was even contemplating, should I even, since there's no burning desire to really go out into Hollywood, uh, should I just drop out of the film school and just do whatever? Which thankfully I didn't do. Um, but the fact that that even remotely came up, I don't know, just a lot of contemplating going on. And then last fall semester hit. This is where I lived by myself on campus, which was nice. But on the other hand, you got lonely sometimes. But I think it worked out pretty okay. Also started a thing where the library, like the school library, had walls of DVDs there, and I basically decided I was going to dedicate a couple hours per week to watch something that I've never seen before. Um, so yeah, lots of new films that I discovered. I think one of the last ones I before I left Penn State was, I think, Taxi Driver. Finally got around to watching Taxi Driver, uh, which I liked. I want to say, yeah, fall semester. That's where I took the advanced experimental course, which is basically you make two this time, uh, which is basically the only contingency. Same professor as last time. Last fall semester, that's where I made the off short film. I submitted that to a festival. I didn't think anything was going to come up of it. And I think it was what? February, I think. I got an email saying that it actually got accepted into the Jim Thorpe Independent Film Festival. I think it was like 3 hours away from here. And I was kind of surprised because I was, kind of thinking, nah, I probably won't go anywhere. And then yet, it got accepted, which is ironic because this was a film that I literally spent 2.5 weeks doing because I needed to kind of come up with something for an experimental film, and I was lacking the time doing it because the other academics were becoming so invasive. The one I was very loose on just happened to get accepted to a film festival, and that was great. But I'll get to that in a moment. But thankfully, my very last semester at Penn State, it was definitely looser than what it was, which was nice. I only took about 4 classes because I was told by an advisor that I really only needed two to graduate. It was, what was it? 2 elective credits, one for the minor, one for the major. Or maybe, no, it was two for the major, one elective. Yeah, sorry. And I figured, well, if that's the only thing I need to do, alrighty, then that's all I'm going to do. So that's where I took the advanced narrative course with Moron, and I also took a class solely dedicated to post production and editing with Mora, both in the same semester. And this is I think the only professor I've ever had like 3 times. I also considered the post production one probably the most important one of the semester. Considering that a lot of the communication stuff, editing is probably going to be the main thing they're looking for, I guess. We got taught Avid for like an entire month, and nobody really liked Avid, but at least we got some experience there. Got into After Effects a little, and I got better at it. I still don't like it, but I'm better at it. And what else? Oh yeah, we did some sound design, which I'm pretty okay with. In the narrative class, as you saw from the Dandelion short, it was me and this one other girl, Jenna. It was actually her story to begin with. Uh, but when we were forming groups, she had nobody. Everybody was sort of mitigating in their own separate little thing. So I kind of felt bad for her and decided, okay, uh, I'm going to help her out a little, and I'm going to be her one other partner in this. So I ended up being director and co-producer, and I think I did sound for like a couple hours one day. Uh, and yeah, she was the editor and producer, and then I mean I made my own little director's cut edits later, but I think that film went pretty nicely. Pretty easy one to shoot, really. I mean, I knew it was hard getting people, all together on specific days when we wanted them. It was very difficult, but the film turned out to be, it ended up doing pretty nicely, I think. And then there was also the Jim Thorpe Festival that my film got accepted in, and it was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie, and the Jim Thorpe area in Pennsylvania it's such a nice area down there. So I might be half tempted to like just send another film that way. I have an excuse to go back down there because it was great. And there was like this giant train yard, so maybe I would have a good excuse to take a train ride or something. Yeah, I mean, it didn't really win any awards, but hey, it got selected. You know, got noticed a little, and I feel like that worked out pretty awesomely. And I'd say the my very last semester as a whole, I think at least there was some finality to it. I know I really didn't get any finality with high school because of the pandemic. I barely had a graduation because that was basically principal stands at a distance, hands you diploma, here, go, get quickly. Uh, and it rained, so I had to drop my diploma, and I didn't get to graduate with any of my friends. And of course, yeah, it was just middle of March, and we could not go back to school ever again. And no finality, unfortunately, but at least with this, I finally got to wrap up school the way I think I really would have wanted to. It's also where I learned that I was going to have two jobs and an internship this summer, believe it or not. I have a videography thing for Penn State starting second week of June. At the time of this video, anyway. I start second week of June. I'm a videographer, I think, for like science camp or something for kids. And that's going to be pretty fun. The one I started 2 weeks ago, the internship, is with a small company called DBTV. If you have a Roku TV, you might have seen it before somewhere. It's kind of a little smaller free thing. I'm basically a guy that edits down promos and whatnot for them. I gotta watch an entire show and then edit it down to like 30 to 60 seconds and whatnot for each. And I think I'm only like the third weekend, and I think it's pretty nice. So I'm really hoping at this point that if the guy is really impressed with me, that I can move on to DBTV with another part-time or preferably a full-time job. That's my hope at this point. The videography thing in Penn State's temporary. It only lasts till like first week of August. But hey, it's something. It's extra pay. And it beats the cable station, which I hate. But that's discussion for another day. We'll save that rant for a much later time. I don't think it really hit me until like the last week or two of school that, like, oh yeah, this really is it. Because you've been talking about, oh, I can prepare for graduation one night, whatever. But yeah, and then hit me with, like, the last week or two. Oh yeah, this is it. This actually really is it. And then yeah, graduation hit. May 4th. Finally got to have uh, some proper closure. It's a shame that I'm not going to be with a lot of the film students uh, ever again, probably, because I really enjoyed working with them. So, if anything, I'm definitely going to miss some of the people the most. I already do miss some of the professors I had at main campus and Altoona. But yeah, I'm finally done. The journey ended a couple weeks ago, I guess. So that's kind of my journey at Penn State. Just something I decided to share. So I think that's really all I got. I know I basically talked for way over an hour, so more than what I anticipated the video was going to be. But yeah, I kind of wanted to share this, get this off my chest. But other words, I hope you enjoyed some semblance of a story. I'm just curious on where on earth that everything's gonna turn out in the next couple months, especially next couple of years. Really hope to go somewhere. So otherwise, hope to catch you later on and have a good rest of the day. So see you.